Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of His Motorbike, Her Island, a Japanese romance from 1986 that was directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi, a director who has received a surprising amount of attention lately in the physical media world. There are now multiple Blu-ray box sets available, which is really nice to see because his movies have historically been difficult to find. The website Asian Movie Pulse has a nice little plot synopsis of His Motorbike, Her Island that I'm going to borrow here. While balancing his studies at music school and his part-time job as a messenger, Ko, played by Riki Takeuchi, still finds plenty of time riding his motorcycle, a Kawasaki, through the streets of the Japanese capital. However, after breaking up with his girlfriend Fuyumi, played by Noriko Watanabe, and suffering a beatdown by her brother, he decides to take a trip to the countryside in an attempt to forget the whole affair and start a new story. By coincidence, he runs into Miyoko, played by Kiwako Harada, who is also on vacation and who is quite taken with the young man in front of her, as well as his motorbike. Now I'm going to say this now. This is one of Obayashi's best movies. It has a very consistent level of entertainment value to it, and it's extremely charming. The male lead is personable, despite engaging in some low-level biker gang shenanigans, and the female lead is very likable as a love interest. She smiles a lot, which is quite endearing. Very easy to like her. She's very charismatic. The romance is not especially complex, but it's effectively showcased. So their dating life is very appealing because they seem to truly have fun with each other. And, he teaches her how to ride his motorbike. She teaches him the customs of her island where she grew up. It's just a really nice romance that has a feel-good aura about it. Now, this is primarily a romance film, but there are some biker conflicts that need to be resolved at times. For example, there's a nighttime biker duel that's quite fun to watch. There are some punk biker vandalism scenes where they break the side mirrors of passing cars. And at one point, the female lead of the film becomes obsessed with riding motorcycles as well. And that becomes kind of like a key component to the film as it moves along. So the element of motorbiking is prominent in this from start to finish, and it provides an additional element that makes the movie feel a little bit unique. There's a nice contrast between city and urban or rural life as well. And the runtime's only 1 hour and 30 minutes long, which I'm a big fan of. And to no one's surprise, given the director, very visually engaging film. It's not as frenetic as some of this director's other films like House. The editing is way calmer than something like House. But it still has some nice little bells and whistles. For example, the visuals very frequently shift between black and white and color, even within the same shot, without an edit. Or, an edit in time. And it works really well with some of the motorbikes in black outfits. I like the black and white with the motorbike visuals a lot. But also the color works really well with the island imagery and the natural environments, like the trees, the mountains, the water. Pretty neat stuff how this film kind of is showcased. Difficult to choose, I think, between whether or not I like the black and white bits more or the color bits more. They each have their highlights in terms of visuals. So the movie looks pretty great, and it's a little bit unique in how it's presented. And although I did mention earlier that this is not a particularly complex film, there's one line of dialogue, very early on, which specifically mentions black and white. And that may throw some of the narration into question. So when you watch the movie for the first time, I would recommend to not overanalyze it. Just take the story at face value. But if you watch it a second time, it might be interesting to maybe dissect and reinterpret certain scenes based on the color scheme that's used in each scene. So it gives the movie some nice rewatch value. I like the performances. People know Riki Takeuchi from his gangster flicks. In fact, when I first started watching the movie, I was like, man, this guy looks familiar. And I looked it up. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's Riki Takeuchi. He's like so young in this movie. It's like you almost can't recognize him. But yeah, he was in like the Dead or Alive films that Miike did, Fudo: The New Generation, that type of thing, and Deadly Outlaw Rekka. But he's very different in this film, showing more of like a sensitive side. You know, real young, kind of a boyish charm to him, and he's kind of sensitive. And Kiwako Harada plays off of him very well. She gives an expressionistic performance that's very charismatic, and it's not easy to do. Sometimes when an actress or an actor tries to give a little bit more to their facial expressions and stuff, they go over the top and it doesn't work. But she does a very good job of doing that here. So I strongly recommend his Motorbike, Her Island. Like I said, I think it's one of this director's best films, and it's currently available in a Blu-ray box set from Third Window Films. And as always, we'll see you next time.